G'day guys, welcome to my RxY's VT video. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about NRL preseason trials, week 3, recap for 2020 guys, so let's get started. So the first match of this game, we see the Penrith Panthers going up against the Parramatta Eels. Now, this game was an absolute great game. I did see improvement by the Penrith Panthers, because usually Penrith Panthers, they don't have that energy and speed, but usually for their defence and off-season, like how the way they improve very well, they get like so much class. But really what I can say about this type of club is that they are a very good team, and really what I can say about this team is usually Apasai Coruscant, you got I wasn't sure who played number 1 for the Penrith Panthers anyway, but really what I can say about this match, I like how the way Penrith Panthers have a lot of class, they show a lot of energy, they have that improvement very well, they just put on a lot of fight, and really what I can say about this match, I like how the way Penrith Panthers are, but it's just going to be a very tight improvement to see in the off-season, pre-season for this year. I just think for the Penrith Panthers, I think they're going to have a really good season for this year anyway. But let's talk about Parramatta Eels. Now, this game for the Parramatta Eels, they played a lot of an absolute entertaining match, and for this game, I like how the way this match was absolutely improving very well for the Parramatta Eels, but obviously for these couple of players like Hayes Dunster, Blake Ferguson, Mitchell Moses, Reid Marnie, I cannot believe that Clint Gutherson also too. He played absolutely really well, and I can see improvement by Parramatta Eels, and really Hayes Dunster is an absolute development player, which he has played for the Canterbury Cup, and really for the preseason trials, I could see him developing really well, and I reckon he'll probably play NRL in a couple of years' time anyway. But having this game for the Parramatta Eels, I reckon they are a really entertaining team that just takes time and then makes their energy pretty much into a development team, which I can see improvement for this club and in years' time. But really, I reckon for the Parramatta Eels, they just need some class and support. But it was a 22 points to 22 scoreline, which it was a tie, and it played a bigger recreational ground anyway, or recreational stadium. And really what I can say about this match, it was definitely a very good match, but it was a hard match to see which one of these people can, which one of these teams can win anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Bulldogs going up against the Raiders. Now, this game was an absolutely great game, and I hate to say this, but Bulldogs absolutely played very well, and they are a very good team, and I just see some improvement going in there, and they're a very interesting team, and which I can definitely relate to, say, Dylan Napa and Josh Averill or something like that. Because those two players obviously scored for this team, and it was a 12 points to 10 scoreline, and unfortunately though, Bulldogs didn't win that, but they obviously played really well, and I'd say 10 out of 10 goes for the Bulldogs anyway. But then, looking at the Raiders, which I mentioned before, Raiders are a very hard team to beat. So then, they obviously beaten the Bulldogs, but Bulldogs are a very good team, and they just need to re-justify how the way they want to play their off-season game. You've got to redefine the structure and how the way you want to play your game right. But then it's obviously the timing and the speed and how the way you want to improve your skills anyway. But for the Raiders though, Sam Williams, and obviously this guy, I just think Sam Williams is a developing player, which he has played a number of games for the Raiders. And for this one though, I'm not too sure who else scored, but I know for a fact that someone else scored. But really what I can say is, I know who scored. It was Jack Whiten that scored. So Jack Whiten and Sam Williams scored. It was a 12 points to 10 scoreline, which I can see definite improvement from the Raiders. And I just think Bulldogs they just really need to justify, because some of these players, like Del Martinez-Lesniak, is a development player which he has came from the Panthers, and I just think how the way it's going to go, I reckon the Bulldogs are going to have a brilliant season for this year, and I think how the way it's going to go, I reckon that if this game is going to be an absolute great game, I just think it's going to be for the Bulldogs, but it was a 12 points to 10 win for the Raiders, and unfortunately though the Bulldogs didn't really get to that spot, but they just worked very well, and they just came to that stage which they absolutely brought to their team, brought to their special, and obviously Dylan Napa and Avriel obviously scored for those two players, and I just think how the way it's going to go, I like how the way Bulldogs are, and they are a very good team anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Storm going up against the Cowboys. Now, this game was an absolutely great game for the Melbourne Storm. They are a very good team, and I just think Callaway, they obviously go for this club. They absolutely came to that stage, but lots of these players obviously are very challenging for this club. Josh Adokar is the world's fastest fucking player I've ever seen. Sorry if I did a little bit of swearing to Stan. I did not mean to do that. I just think Dale Finucane is a really good player. He is just a hard player just for that forward and lock. And really what I can say about Melbourne Storm, Jerome Hughes is a very good player, but I don't see him really challenging himself very well, and though he's just an absolutely very talented player, which I can justify how the way he can obviously play for the Melbourne Storm, and he is just a world-class player, and I like how the way that he just scores tries, kicking goals, or not kicking goals, but like has that try assist. Passing was absolutely entertaining, and I just think how the way it's going to go for this club, they are just one of the most unique clubs and the number one team, like in the comp anyway, and I just think how the way this team is going to go is absolutely going to be absolutely great. It was 22 points to 14, this scoreline was, and for the Cowboys, Valentine Holmes has obviously came in when he played for the NFL side, and like he came from the NFL because I don't think he obviously didn't really like it. But Valentine Holmes is a great player. He obviously played for the Sharks, and I think he got a contract for the Cowboys, and I just think how the way this team is going to go for Valentine Holmes, I think it's very interesting to see him play for the Cowboys, and I just think that if the Cowboys need Valentine Holmes, I reckon they are going to have a massive year just for this guy, Valentine Holmes anyway. But Justin O'Neill and Cole Feld obviously scored for this scoreboard anyway for the 14 points. And really what I can say about this team, I like how the way that Cowboys are just an absolutely an average team. And really what I can say about this club, they're probably going to have a really good season, but not a great season for any other clubs to get beaten for anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Rabbitohs going up against the Dragons. Now, this team is an absolutely great team. Rabbitohs are a very interesting club, and, really what I can say about the Rabbitohs, I like how the way they formate is absolutely pretty cool, but Corey Allen is not suitable for the first grade side because he does not work to that speed mostly pretty well. His fullback, he does not suit the fullback. Wing, maybe, we've given him a 50% chance, but fullback and halfback is absolutely terrible. But he does not suit that, and I just think how the way that Corey Allen goes, he just needs some improvement, and he needs a lot of work for going into first grade anyway. But for the Rabbitohs, I like how the way that they just justify. They are a very interesting team, and they are a very hard team to beat because you obviously got Damien Cook, he is just a speedster. Adam Reynolds, he is just a world-class player. And Campbell Graham, so let's just say this. I like how the way Campbell Graham and Corey Oates, how the way their off speed is going, but it's just how the way that this team is obviously going to go for. And really what I could say about this club, I like how the way that Campbell Graham is just a great player. I do like him. He's just an absolute great winger. He definitely suits for the Rabbitohs though, but anyway, let's just leave it at that and let's talk about the Dragons. So, Dragons are a very good team. They just need to have some improvement if they want to win games, because this game for the scoreboard was obviously 26 points to 12, and for the Dragons though, they definitely need some improvement. And how the way it's gonna go, it's not gonna suit some of the players if the players are not gonna work that hard enough. But Zach Lomax is a really good player for say fullback, the 5'8", or the wing. He is an absolutely great player, and I just think that he suits that fullback side, but I just don't think he needs to have that fullback side for I'd say go, if it moves on anyway. But for the Dragons though, they just definitely need some improvement, and I just don't like how the way they lose and then win and then lose and win, because they just need some hard work, and if they don't, then they don't have that structure into that team. But they are an interesting team. I'm not saying anything negative about them, but they just need to really justify and have a lot of work for this team anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Roosters going up against the Knights. Now, this game was obviously a very good game. I'd say for the Newcastle Knights, obviously the list goes on and on, but I'm not going to say all of them that scored lots of tries. It was a 58 points to nil scoreline, which, say for instance, the Eels and Broncos was 58 points to nil, and obviously Eels won that, but I'm not talking about that. Let's talk about this one. So, really, the Newcastle Knights are a very good team, but they had a better squad into that team. Because Roosters, they only had Lachlan Lamb, Lindsay Collins, and I just think for this team, the Roosters, they didn't have James Tedesco, they didn't have bloody Boyd Cordner, they didn't have anyone else, but it's just, that was why that this team didn't really suit for this club. And really for the players though, Kalen Ponga, Jimmy Shibazaki, Tex Hoy, Hummel Hunt, Mitch Barnett, he obviously scored 2 tries, and it's just, the list goes on and on. But for Mitch Barnett though, he's an absolutely great player. He definitely suits, I think, either 13 side, and he's just an absolutely great player, and I really like him how the way he obviously plays his game really well. But then, this team needs to have some improvement for Tex Hoy also too, because I heard that Tex Hoy is a developing player, but I heard that he might be going into the NRL, the actual NRL, and he might be playing for the halfback side. And Jaden Brayley for suiting either number 6 or number 7, I reckon Tex Hoy might be coming into that number 6 squad, and Jalen Brayley might coming into that number 7 squad. But really what I can say about this team, I like how the way they are a very interesting team, but Newcastle Knights definitely need to have some improvement, but they obviously won that game 58 points to nil, and Roosters, they definitely need to have some improvement in there, because they did not even play their heart out anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Broncos going up against the Gold Coast Titans. Okay, I'm going to laugh at this, only because Titans don't usually win every single match. But then what I can say about this game, I like how the way that sometimes they just put in a lot of effort, and also for this club, the new say Titans though, they don't really execute very well, but Dale Copley, Jai Arrow, the list goes on and on. I'm not going to say anyone else, because the Gold Coast Titans just had to win that, but they obviously played really well, and for that first win, I just think the Broncos didn't execute very well. I thought Broncos were going to win that, but they didn't. The Gold Coast Titans would. I thought, for instance, that Titans weren't going to win a game, but they did. But it was a 28 points to 22 scoreline, and obviously Titans won that. So they just need to have some improvement, though, the Titans. Just because they obviously won the trials game doesn't mean they can have like a lot of effort. They need to have a lot of effort because they need to have some work, and they obviously need to have some good training skills done. Obviously, if they want to like win a couple of games of football. But really, what I can say about this match, it was an absolutely great match, and I like how the way Broncos are just re-justifying. But okay, I need to tell you something though. Darius Boyd, he needs to retire so bad. He just needs to retire so bad, and really what I can say about this match is I like how the way Darius Boyd sometimes plays a great game, but he just needs to retire so bad because he is a terrible player, and sometimes though he doesn't really execute very well. So I'm just going to say this. Darius Boyd definitely needs to retire anyway. The next game of this round, we see the Warriors going up against the West Tigers. Now, this game was absolutely crucial. The Warriors don't really concede so much of entertainment, like concede so much effort. But if you can see some of their, like how the way they improve their football, they don't really have a lot of class. Only because I know Rabbitohs is a very good player. He's just a talent. But then these type of players, though, they don't really concede any class. But I know for a fact that sometimes they do win a couple of games of football. But then they just need to re-justify and how the way they want to like work out a couple of games of football. It just needs to have that improvement for the Warriors. But then for the West Tigers, though, I like how the way that if the West Tigers can have that classy game of football, they obviously are an absolutely great team to like have anyway. But Luke Brooks, David Norfoluma obviously scored 2 tries, and I think who else? All I know is I think Luke Brooks and David Norfoluma. Luke Brooks only scored 1, and David Norfoluma only scored 2. But really, what I can say about this match is I like how the way that the West Tigers are a very interesting team. But then, really what I can say about this match is I like how the way that the West Tigers like usually are, but I like how the way that this club is a very interesting team. Last year they didn't play as great football, but I reckon West Tigers are going to have a better season this year, and they're going to improve very well. I reckon Joey Leilua is going to have a brilliant season and a brilliant year. But really what I can say about this match is it was a 20 points to 6 scoreline, and I cannot believe that the West Tigers won against the Warriors anyway. And finally, the next game of this round, we see the Sharks going up against the Sea Eagles. Now, this game was obviously an absolutely great game. I like how the way that they obviously put like a lot of pressure on different teams. Like the Sharks are just one-off teams that can usually have that interesting type of entertainment of football. But I like how the way that usually sometimes though that the Sharks can obviously put on a lot of pressure and a lot of fight. But then for the Sharks though, I like how the way that they are a great, obviously are a great team. But then how the way this team obviously goes into that season, I reckon they're going to have a brilliant season, and I like how the way that this club is obviously going to have a great year. But then it was obviously 28 points to 16 scoreline. It was an average scoreline, which I'm pretty interested in anyway. But then for the Manly Sea Eagles, I like how the way that this club is an absolutely great team, and for this team, I like how the way that the Manly Sea Eagles justify for that type of team. But Danny Levi, Abbas Miski, and I can't really pronounce that name right. But then, like, Abbas Miski is a development player. He obviously played for the Blacktown Workers Sea Eagles. He usually plays for that because usually they don't have enough players to obviously justify. But Abismiski is an obviously great player, and I like how the way he's obviously is a winger. But then Danny Levi, which he obviously used to play for the Knights, now he's playing for Manly Sea Eagles now. He is an obviously great player, and I like how the way that this game is obviously a great game for like this team. But usually Manly Sea Eagles can have that interesting look to their team, but then how the way it's going to go for this club, I like how the way that they are an interesting team because they obviously got like Daly Cherry Evans, Tom Travojevic, Jake Travojevic, and honestly Ben Travojevic, which he obviously has got to that side and obviously came into that squad anyway. But then I like how the way that this team is obviously is a great team. But then Sharks are a great team also too, and I like how the way Chad Townsend obviously leads them out into an absolute great formation. But then it was a 28 points to 16 anyway, and I like how the way that Sharks win that game up against the Manly Sea Eagles anyway. Thanks guys for watching my video, guys. Stay tuned for more. I will be doing a couple of videos coming to you guys soon. Also, I'll be doing more videos coming to you guys soon, so stay tuned for more. Plus, leave a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and for this video, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Until then, take care guys, stay safe, and have a good one.